So one of the skills we have to develop is learning to identify auctions that we do not think will sell very well, so we can add them into our watch list and keep an eye on them just in case. Typically things I'm looking for are spelling mistakes, auctions that have no photo whatsoever, auctions that do not have a very good description or have no description or do not list everything in the auction in the description, and auctions that have been put in the wrong category. All of these things can help us find them. So I'm going to try and do some quick searches here to identify things that I don't think are going to go well and explain why. So here's the first one. This is a Sony PlayStation 2, PS2, black console with lots games, memory, controller bundle. Now this might show up if I did a search for PS2 lots or PS2 games. But I don't think this is going to sell very well. One, I think it is possibly overpriced. Or certainly they haven't justified the price. Here's the photo. You can't really make out what it is. I'm assuming this is what they're trying to sell. This is the photo. That's not a great photo to sell it. So we look for bad photos. Let's have a look at the listing itself. Now what they have done is they've added quite a lot of photos in here, but they haven't put them in the right order for eBay. Really, that's what they want as the thumbnail on the front. Then this would probably be selling. If I look at the description, we can see it's got a console lead, but it doesn't actually list what the games are. Anytime the seller is lazy, it cuts down on their ability to sell the console or to sell the products. We need to learn to look for them. So here's one that is unlikely to sell particularly well. That photo is messy. It's also collection only. So it doesn't have games. It's got the board. It's got a console. But this probably won't sell because it doesn't have games. But if you wanted the basic setup, this isn't that bad a price. But this probably won't sell because it's relatively high starting point and it's collection only. If we were interested in this and we lived nearby, we might want to add it to our watch list and see if it comes back later on. So I'm just going to have a quick look at this one to compare it to the previous PS2 one. Because previous PS2 one had 16 games, more games than this. But if you have a quick look, this one is actually listing all the games that are in there. It's got a good photograph as the thumbnail, and it's got a relatively low starting point, or it did have. A low starting point helps auctions. A high starting point doesn't help auctions, and sometimes if that high starting point is below what you're prepared to pay, you can get good bargains on there. So we have to learn to look for sellers that haven't done a good job listing their product. And if you can do that, there's a lot of bargains in eBay. Now one of the risks is if there is no photo, you're not necessarily sure what condition it is. So you have to take the seller. Let's see if we can find one. So I've been having a look, couldn't find one with no photo, but I found one with really, really bad photo. So this listing, Wii console bundle with games, I don't actually see a Wii console in there. So this is not likely to sell particularly well, simply because in order to attract your attention, you have to go into the listing and have a look. Most people don't do that. If the title doesn't grab them and the picture doesn't grab them, they pretty much ignore that. Plus, there is no description. Now what's interesting is I wouldn't go anywhere near this listing simply because I have no idea what they're selling. Someone might take a punt at this, but that is a dreadful listing. One of the worst listings I've ever seen. I don't think that's going to sell. But also, I have no idea if it's a bargain, so I wouldn't go near it. The interesting thing is this person's got 100% positive feedback, so they're not necessarily a scam. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean a scam. We have to get in the habit of learning to spot scams. I don't think this is a scam, I think this is just a bad listing. So use search terms, narrow it down, take advantage of sellers who are lazy and not listing things very well.